pod, bro.
You're tuning in to Layno Pod, the Layno Prod podcast. I'm with my friend, Josh Chung.
What's good, man? Woo! Happy to be here.
DJ Josh Chung. Let's start with this Arizona because I'm dying.
Let's go with this.
Yes.
I picked the green tea. I think this is the OG Arizona.
Okay.
This is the Arizona that basically I grew up on. It's got like all of my heritage on a can. So.
Oh, I didn't. That's why you like it.
No, I'm a huge fan. Also, it was like super cheap to get in the grocery store in that like little gallon thing. So it was good, man.
Nice.
Cheers.
I was asking Josh what flavor Arizona tea he wants for this podcast. He's like, that OG flavor. And I'm like,
and he didn't know what I meant because he was like, what is the OG flavor supposed to be?
Yeah, I was like, you're like honey green tea. I was like, yes, that's my favorite too. That's good.
It's the best, dude. I think this is like such a big thing. I grew up. We both grew up here in Southern California, right?
Yeah,
and there's so many people who are like just super into Arizona, and specifically, I feel like most of my friends who came over to my house, like there was definitely like a gallon of Arizona in my fridge every so often for people to use and to drink.
Okay, that's dope. What part of California, SoCal, did you grow up in?
So I grew up in. So most people think that I grew up in a city called Cerritos, but I actually grew up in a city called Artesia. It's a little island in the middle of Cerritos, but it's in like that like Long Beach, North OC area.
Okay.
It's a weird place, bro. It's like
weird.
It's weird because it's like at the intersection of like a lot of different communities because there's like a huge Latino community like immediately to the west of us. There's obviously there's a big black community in Long Beach, Compton, that area. And then there's also like a huge Asian population in Cerritos.
Yeah.
And so you got like all these people like combined into like one area. It doesn't obviously like Cerritos itself is like a fairly Asian city, but I think the influence that like a lot of the other areas have on us is pretty strong and definitely like in the music scene. Also there's hella Filipino people, right? So woo. So I think like the music scene in the area, I think I grew up around like tons of people who are like super into hip hop, super into just like whatever is like popular in Long Beach essentially is like what's popular around us.
Okay.
And I think it's really cool because that's like something that's so I think unique to the experience that I have as like growing up as a SoCal kid.
Right.
I think that there's like a lot of different experiences that you can have as growing up in Southern California because there's people who grow up in like very, very like ethnic enclave areas like San Gabriel Valley or like if you grew up in like, I don't know, like Inglewood, right?
Yeah.
But I think because of where you grow up, where I grew up at least, I got exposed to like a lot of different people and a lot of different types of music.
Yeah. And
I think that's like kind of influenced a lot of like what I listen to now and like who I've kind of become in terms of that. So. Okay.
That's dope. So how all these influences from the racial demographics that are around, the type of friends you have, the music scene. Talk about DJing. Like, how'd you get into that?
Yeah.
When, for people that don't know how Josh became a DJ.
Story time. So I started back in high school because there was... I was in student council, and so student council, we had to go to like all the athletics events, right?
Yeah.
And so at my school, we didn't have a football team because we were like a really small school.
Okay.
So our big sport was basketball, which I'm fine with because I'm a huge ball fan.
Ball is life.
Ball is life. So at those games, the teams would warm up beforehand, right? And so I was at those games from like the beginning until like the Frosh game until the end of the varsity game a lot of times, right?
Okay.
And so the teams would be warming up, and then I would bring out music, and then I kind of just started playing songs, right, for like the teams to warm up. And eventually I was like, oh, like I have a lot of songs. This is the era of like the LimeWire, like FrostWire era, right?
Yeah.
So like, when everyone would like download files, and then I just started to like amass this huge library of songs. Which is funny because until I was in 7th grade, I actually wasn't allowed to listen to non-Christian music. So the fact that I actually had enough music to like get to the point where I was just able to like, oh yeah, I have this song.
Right.
So I kind of just became that designated person that would like play music at games.
Okay.
And eventually it just became something that I was like, all right, I'm like kind of into this, but I don't know if I actually want to like pursue doing this as like whatever, right?
Right.
It turns out that there was a guy at my high school. He's a year older than me. His name's Harry. He took lessons from a dude at Power 106.
Oh shoot!
And this guy actually went to USC too.
Wow.
But he had Tech 12s, which are kind of like the standard in term. That's where people get the term ones and twos from.
Ones and twos, yeah.
So he had a pair of Tech 12s in his house, and then he invited me over one time, and he was like, "Hey, like, do you want to like learn some of the stuff that I've played, right?" So he's like he's also into a lot of different types of music. I would say he leans a little bit more on the electronic side.
Yeah.
So, but I like learned from this dude like how to transition, how to like, oh, what's a phrase? Like how do you figure out a musical phrase in DJing? How do you put songs in the right way? How do you mix in key? Like all these things that are like a little bit more technical than if you would just like be learning from like going on your own, right?
Yeah.
So he like taught me all this stuff, and then after that, I went into like my senior year of high school, and I was like doing the like virtual DJ stuff on my like on my laptop, right? I had
Everybody
like no gear.
that.
Yeah. I had like no gear. I had no
you had the mouse.
I had the mouse, the mouse for scratching, like you like move it back and forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't think that it would be actually something that I could like pursue that like obviously like as an art or like even as something that I could like make money off of until I think it was the end of my senior year. I was like on Craigslist and I was just looking at stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then I found a DJ controller on Craigslist, and this one like retails for like $1,500, but it was like $600 or $700 on Craigslist at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, like if I want to commit to this, I have to like get some kind of gear, right?
Yeah.
So I like saved up a bunch of money my senior year of high school and then bought that thing.
Damn. Okay.
And I think that was a crazy thing because like if I hadn't made that step to actually like invest in that, I don't think I would be DJing still now.
Right.
Because like after you buy something like $700 for a senior in high school is like a pretty decent amount of money.
Yeah.
Like for even
That's
for
a
like
lot.
people in college.
Oh hell yeah.
But like you go from that and it's like, all right, so now I'm like gonna do this. And so but I had like never done a gig. I had never done like any of this like major stuff until I came to college really. But all I had was I was armed with like the musical knowledge I had from from growing up in Cerritos and the friends that I had there.
Yeah.
And then obviously like just a natural desire to like learn about what's popular and what bangs basically. So that's kind of how I started, and then came to USC, was friends with a lot of people here on my floor my freshman year who like had parties or threw gigs and stuff like that. So I started getting into that scene. My first gig ever at USC was actually on the Row. So that was fun. That was a fun time.
The Greek Row. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I started doing a lot of USC official events because I was in like doing USG stuff because there was a period of time where I was like trying to go that route.
Yeah,
and then kind of eventually became, now I'm going into my fourth year going this summer into DJing for USC orientations. It's really funny. But yeah, that's kind of how it's a lot of USC, a lot of word of mouth. That's kind of how I've got started with everything and the story behind me and DJing. So
man, okay, for people that don't know, you mentioned DJing orientations. My first interaction with Josh was actually during my freshman orientation, which was 2015,
right?
Yeah, 3 years ago. And this guy had on like, was it like a Kobe jersey or something?
Kobe jersey.
This guy always wears a Kobe jersey to orientation.
Not only Kobe jersey, the young Kobe.
Young Kobe, number 8.
Laker 8, bro. Laker 8.
But this guy, like, I was like, okay, this is a pretty cool DJ. It's an Asian DJ. I don't see that too much. Like,
yeah, especially an Asian hip hop DJ.
Especially an Asian hip hop DJ. I was like, damn, this guy has a good taste in music. I'm like, okay. And then people are dancing. I don't know anybody there. And then freshman James, thinking he could rap and just impress a whole crowd of new freshmen at USC, walks up to DJ Josh, and I was just like, hey man, can I get a mic or freestyle? I don't know if you remember that, but that was my first interaction of Josh, and he was like, nah, bruh. Which makes sense. I probably would have embarrassed myself and Josh and everybody else, but I mean, that was just a funny interaction. I was like, oh, it's all good. You know?
Bro,
I understand. Yeah.
I've had so many people, like, over the years at USC. I mean, people are, like, I think the biggest ones are like usually like the Trojan Nights parties I've DJ'd. Like people are just smashed, and they come up to you and try to say like whatever they like want you to shout out their friend's birthday. They want you to like say UCLA sucks, right? Like there's people just come up and say like stupid stuff, like or want to say stupid stuff. So I tend to not like scream a lot on the mic. I'm like not that kind of DJ. I think the way that kind of DJs have gone in the recent years, especially like if you look at like DJ Khaled, DJ Mustard, right? Like these guys are like basically
another one.
Yeah, they just live on the mic basically, and like that's kind of they're less focused, I feel like, on the technical ability of DJing and more on the basically trying to hype the crowd with your voice.
Right.
And like I tend to think that the music should speak for what speak for itself, and like you can get people hyped just by the songs you play by transitioning well. Even if people don't know like how to DJ, they'll know what sounds good to them on the dance floor. So
okay. So how about those DJs that not only overuse the mic to hype up the crowd, but the ones that, I don't know, don't get offended, my EDM producers and DJs out there, but overuse effects, like I don't know.
Those guys, they're making money, right? Like that's kind of how the scene of hip hop is right now, for DJing at least. But I think like the biggest thing that's kind of shifted a little bit is I think about like the DJs from, not even DJs, I think about the music that was like popular back in like when I was in high school,
right?
Like my senior year of high school, 2011, that was right when like the ratchet music movement with DJ Mustard just started. Like when West Coast hip hop became like everyone's favorite stuff.
Right.
That was like the Rack City,
was that on the
A-Ladies, Don't Tell Them, Loyal, all of that, right?
Yo.
Yeah.
all the Chris Brown,
all the Chris Brown, Tyga, Travis Scott, Travis Porter, all this that era, right?
Jeremiah.
Yeah, that era was like, that was like, those were bangers, right?
They were, yeah.
And those people had really good production, really good tracks, and you could actually understand what they were saying most of the time, right?
Yeah.
I feel like with the influence of like what happened, I think honestly it was Future and Migos that kind of changed the game of pushed all of hip hop back into the South.
2013-ish,
Yeah. I'd say actually even a little bit later than that. I think it was like with, I'm trying to think, with Future, when Future dropped, I think Dirty Sprite.
Hell yeah.
That was like when that like mumble rap game started.
Yep.
And now like
leaned out,
and now DJs are trying to mimic basically what the rappers are doing today, which is just mumbling and screaming through most of the performances. Like if you've been to I've been to a couple concerts with like Southern rap artists. Like I've been to a Ray Shremmerd concert. We've seen Future. And most of the time, like they're not actually really rapping; they're kind of just screaming through the whole track.
Just a bunch of ad libs.
Bunch of ad libs. They'll like stop the track in the midway and say, "Oh, y'all aren't hype enough. Like we got to start this over."
Dude.
You know what I mean?
So
like
true.
it's just like the musicality and like the production is just so bad, that it basically just makes you feel like, oh, this guy doesn't really know what he's doing. And so I feel like when I hear that from DJs now, it's kind of like the same thing of like, y'all don't actually have the ability to play, but you're just basically relying on your like hype, whatever you want to call that, to be the source of all that.
Right.
So
speaking of that, I remember my friend that's like a huge Travis Scott fan. Showed me this Travis Scott video where he's performing, he's all rapping, and the DJ like stops the track, right? And that's cool if you do it like once or twice, but he kept doing it.
Yeah.
And he's like, yo, like what the fuck, like like get off, like get out, like he just kicked them out, and
it's crazy because like that's just kind of the norm of what like DJing has become, and I think that like that's why I think I fit in this, I'm in this weird mold, right? Because I think that like if you listen to EDM DJs, EDM DJs don't really say a lot, like they're into the music, they're into the music, but I also think it's because a lot of EDM DJs and just the scene of EDM in general is like people don't really have that much stage presence. In EDM, right? I think there's a couple guys who know how to fist bump, right? Like, will jump around, like say a few things. But I think about guys like, I don't know, like Porter Robinson or Madeon, right?
Madeon,
They're like okay with stage presence. Like some people might even say they're a little bit awkward, right? And then you got the people who are like super confident in the hip hop scene that are like crazy talented. Like with their vocals and like hyping a crowd, but in terms of like the actual ability they have of like DJing, it's like they're just like stopping and starting. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle of that. I don't feel like I'm a huge talker in terms of like DJing, but I'm also like I feel like I don't really fit into either of the molds of that. So I think it's kind of just part of being an Asian American DJ that's into hip hop.
Right.
That's kind of just what you're not like a lot of people, because I get stereotyped a lot, right? There's a lot of people who think that, oh yeah, this guy's just gonna play a lot of house music, EDM, yeah. But no, so I think that's what's interesting too.
Has anybody ever like offensively called you like Steve Aoki or something?
No, I'm not the guy that throws cakes out into the crowd.
Oh, he did that? I didn't even know that.
That's one of his signatures. He likes to throw birthday cakes into the crowd. Yeah. He's a little crazy, but no one's ever done that to me.
Right.
But
man, okay, I get what you're saying, like how I notice when you do DJ and like we're dancing and whatnot, you don't say much. You check every once in a while to see if people are still like hyped up, but you kind of, like you said, let the music speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Do your transitions. We're like, what? We didn't think this song would go to this song, and everybody you read the crowd, you feel them out and all that. What is, I guess, I know you're into hip hop, but how do you how challenging is it to like go from like hip hop music to like pop music? Because I know you playing like some pop music and then that to like Latin music, you know, like what's the challenges with that, you know?
I think the challenges with that a lot of times is kind of just where the crowd is. I think that I am someone who, I think the biggest mistake that a lot of DJs make is that they try to play whatever they want to play. I think that's like a, right?
Yeah.
Like, people are like, all right, this is my set, I'm going to play what I want, right?
Right.
And in some ways, I think that's valid because it's like, that's the artistry of it, right? Like, you're unique and you get to play what you want to play. And basically, no matter what you play, like, someone or a group of people is going to be forced to listen to you for like 2 hours or like whatever length of time. But I think like, I think about like the crowds that I mostly DJ for, and a lot of them have consisted of college students recently. Okay. And I think with college students, it's interesting because you have people who come from all different backgrounds, especially USC. Yeah. And I think that as you going through all of your set, I have to realize, right, like, I'm not DJing in Cerritos. I can't play an 85% hip-hop set, right? At the same time, I'm not going to ignore the other people that I have in the crowd that also like certain types of music that I might not be as well versed in, but I want to learn more about. So I think, like, transitioning between hip-hop and pop and all that is not that hard. There are some hip-hop bangers that, like, you just drop on the dance floor and, like, you 100% know your crowd will be into it. A couple of those songs are, like, Party in the USA, Starships, California Girls, any of the Bruno Mars tracks from the last 3-5 years. Like, basically any of those songs will get a crowd going. I think that you just have to know how many of those to play in a row. I've had some sets where I've like played like all the bangers in a row and just keep the crowd going for like 20 minutes, and then and then all of a sudden like I'm out of songs that are like bangers. But I think like it's been really cool because I've been able to do gigs now with people in the local community, because I've DJ'd now for a middle school in South Central. Oh, okay. And that's a totally different crowd, I think, because the pop level is a lot less. Okay. They're a lot younger. Yeah. But I think that a lot of the, obviously a lot of the community around here is Latino. Yeah. And so these kids are listening a lot to, like, bachata, they're listening to reggaeton, like, they're more into, like, Latin music than they are into, like, what's on the radio on, like, Power 106, right? Okay. So that was, like, that's a challenge in itself. When you're DJing for a new crowd that you don't really know well, you got to figure out, like, what you want to play. Yeah. But, I mean, I've like always had an appreciation for Latin pop and Latin music in general, because most of my neighbors actually growing up were Latino. Yeah. In Artesia, like I would say most of the people who live directly around me are all like Salvadoran, Mexican, and so they would throw these like huge parties on the weekends, and they would like blast like bachata, they would blast reggaeton, any like lots of J-Lo, like and so like Suavemente, that's like always good. Suavemente is always that's the quinceañera song, right? Yeah. So that's there's like a lot of music that was playing, and like little did they know there was this little Taiwanese kid that was like sitting in his bedroom listening to all this music. It's like, oh, this is pretty dope. And so a lot of these songs that like I've I've liked from when I was like young, like are kind of resurfacing. The genre of music's kind of resurfacing into American pop culture, because now we're starting to see like Luis Fonsi has like hit, right?
They're killing it. Yep.
There's this dude, Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny,
right?
Yeah.
He's like the trap star of Latin America right now.
Yep. He's the Latin trap star.
And so there's like all these guys who are like starting to come up.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool because you're starting to see a lot of crossover now between American pop and Latin music. Like Demi Lovato was just on another song with Luis Fonsi.
Yeah.
And like this is kind of where I feel like music is kind of leading us to, is that we're going to start to see a lot of American music that's really representative of like all the people who are like around us.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool because it's on me a lot of times to learn about this music, but I don't want to be an expert in it or like make it seem like I'm an expert, because this music, obviously I like it, but it's not my culture. So I have to always make sure that I'm like asking people who actually know about it to like give me recs, right? And it's a lot of like, you know, as a DJ, like it's weird sometimes to be like, oh, like I don't really know about this like genre. You always want to be like perceived as that person that knows a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that it's kind of helpful to like ask people. Like another big thing right now is like Afro beats. Afro beats are starting to come up. Like a lot of West African countries have loved Afro beats for like a really long time, right? And I think it was One Dance, Drake, featured an Afrobeats artist, Wizkid, Nigerian dude. Yeah. And that song kind of bust out like Afrobeats into the mainstream. I feel like for people who've never heard it before, like me. Yeah. And so now I'm asking a lot of my friends who are Nigerian, like, hey, like, can you give me some recs for Afrobeats? Because dancehall Afrobeats, that's another wave that's coming on.
Hell yeah,
those are all bangers, dude. Yeah. So it's exciting.
That's crazy. I want to touch upon the topic when you were saying about just how Latin music is just, I mean, it's not, I don't know if resurgence is a good word for it, but like it's really big and it's still growing, and like not only Despacito but all these like crazy like charts, all these statistics on Spotify, YouTube, right? And it's crazy how before it was Latin American artists reaching out to collab with US artists, and now it's like flipped in a way.
Right. We got US artists going to Latin America to make songs.
And I like what you said about how you don't want to just like, if you're not familiar with the culture, you don't want to just assume certain things. Like you don't want to like stereotype music to them, right? And you would ask certain people. That kind of reminded me of one of my professors. Shout out to Laura Medina. She's working with Coast City Vibes and like A-Chow and all these like big Latin American artists, right? And she had a Latin music industry class that like is very new. Last semester she started at USC. And we learned a lot about how the industry was and how it is now. And it's crazy to see, because of that class, it opened my mind to music in which I'm not 100% sure what I understand in the lyrics, but I feel like music's another language, and it's like, I enjoy it, you know? I have like my Latin American artist favorites, like there's this guy named Alvaro Diaz. He's like kind of like Kanye, but like the, I forgot what race he was. I want to say Puerto Rican, I might be wrong though. And then there's like Audrey Nix, who's like the Latin American version of Aaliyah, which is crazy. It's like all of my like favorite artists, but they're giving it their twist, and they're popping in their country, like their home country. You know what I mean? And it's crazy how like a lot of us, like just US kids, it's almost gonna be mainstream, you know? It's like, it is in some cases, but I feel like it's even more with YouTube and Spotify and all that. And what you said about like Afro beats and like how that's making its way with Drake, and like I feel like that's why Drake's still popping. Like he knows what wave is next, and he's gonna hop on it. And
he's an international superstar. So he knows how to tap into the markets.
He's a pop star. Yeah.
It's crazy because even Ed Sheeran did an Afrobeats or
he did. Oh, Shape of You is like a reggae beat, right?
Yeah, it's like a reggaeton.
Yeah. That's crazy. I want you to speak about how like this is all influencing you in terms of like how are you going to compile your playlist now? Like how much work goes into that? Yeah. So I want you to speak on that.
Yeah, compiling playlists, dude, especially for music that you're not familiar with, is super hard. Because you don't want to be like like, I don't know. There are a lot of DJs who will be like, oh yeah, you want to play some K-pop? All right, we'll play like Gangnam Style, right? You want to play like some Latin music? All right, we'll play Despacito, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like, it's like, yeah, those songs are a piece of the culture, but it's like so surface and so like, honestly, American view of like these genres that you really have to dig deep into asking people really like what recs they have, because I'm not Latino, right?
Right. So
I'm not gonna know what is like the song that gets everyone dancing at like a house party, right?
Right.
I need to like those, and those aren't. That's not stuff that you just like Google. You're like, oh, what song to get people up at the dance party 2018, right?
Right.
So it's a lot of really just relationships with people. I feel like the biggest thing about being someone who like is facilitating people having a good time is you need to understand the people who are there, and that's how you build those playlists, because you have a lot of like sway, especially I think about like weddings that I've DJ'd, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to mess up a wedding. Like
you don't.
Like, it's the one night of someone's life, well, hopefully, like, that they like will remember for the rest of their life as like a party where they had all their closest friends and family like there, right? And like I've done like I think like around 10-ish weddings now, and like every single time you're at a wedding, like I think I get the most nervous for wedding gigs because I know how much it means to, especially the bride.
Right.
I think so. Those gigs, especially, I have to be very, very sure that I know the type of people who are going to be there, and like that's probably the most work into going into like creating playlists for those kind of gigs.
Right.
But I think if you're trying to do gigs for like, I don't know, college students that I have a little bit more like closer relationships to and like similar tastes, then it's a lot easier to build playlists for those. But I think that like as I've learned a lot more about just like what music is and how it moves people and what just overall it kind of is for like all of us here. It's something that I feel like really has been impactful in making me just really understand who I am and who is going to be listening to all these playlists. So
Right. That's pretty cool how that's essentially like what you want to take away as being a DJ, right? It's just not only representing the crowd you're playing for, but also like kind of sacrificing some of your own tastes for them, right?
Right.
It's like a very unselfish thing to be a DJ now.
Right. And it's also funny because like I think that when people think about like the things that I said right there, like, oh, like I like don't play what I want. Some people could say like, oh, you're a sellout, right? Like you're basically just playing what people want. But no, like if you think of DJing as a service, right, versus thinking of it as an art form,
right?
Like it's not true that you can't have them both as one. But I think that like honestly, someone is paying me a decent amount of money to play music, right?
Right.
How cool is that, right?
Right.
And that is something that they're paying me for a service, right?
Right.
And so I'm going to be doing the best that I can to make sure that people feel like they can like get down.
Right.
Right. So it depends on what kind of crowd it is. Like if it's like I'm DJing for I don't know like Helene's invite or like Trojan Knight's invite, right? Those the getting down goes a little bit deeper down the deep end, but right. But I think
music.
the only crowd actually I DJ honestly that I DJ for free now is InterVarsity, but that's a fun crowd to DJ for also just because I mean it's like I can still go down the hip hop route.
Yeah, you do.
Not as deep into the realm, the depths of hip hop, but
clean version.
Got all the clean versions, but no, it's a lot of fun. I think I think some of the best moments that I've had in my time in college have been the view from behind turntables when everyone is just going crazy and having a great time is amazing. Yeah. Like when I'm on that orientation stage, and I see like 200 people, like going crazy for Turn Down for What, right? That gets me hyped, dude. Yeah. Like, and it's an experience that like you don't really feel unless you like perform. I think you know this too. As when you're performing for a huge crowd and people are really feeling your music, like that's a great feeling, and like you want to chase that feeling. It's so like life giving. Yeah,
that energy just goes all around the room.
Yeah,
feeds back to one loop.
Yeah,
I like what you said about how seeing it as a service, but it can also be an art form.
Right.
But mainly the focus of it being a service. I can relate with that in terms of mixing and just like engineering people's projects, right? Somebody's like paying me to mix their album or mixtape or song or master it, right? Like producing, yeah, it could be a little bit more hands-on, but at the end of the day, they're giving me what they made already,
Right.
and I have to provide the service of making it sound as best as possible.
Right.
Like one of my professors was telling us in one of our mixing classes, like, your job isn't to complain about like you not liking the song. You just gotta, if you think the song sucks, you gotta make it just sound the best it can
right.
in terms of audio quality. And it's similar to DJing. It's like, maybe that's not your favorite song, but you know this is gonna get the crowd hype. This is gonna get that one guy hype who has an influence with the whole circle in the crowd, and now everybody's gonna go hype.
Right, right.
So I think that's crazy. And what do you think about like LA crowds versus like people not from LA? Like, what are some differences or similarities? You know, like just from your experience, the type of people that you're DJing for. Yeah.
So I've been traveling a lot recently.
Yeah.
LA crowds are really interesting because obviously LA crowds are very diverse.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of people who are like from all over the place, right? You go to like the club scene in LA is very varied because you got clubs out in Hollywood or K-Town that focus a lot on EDM.
Yeah.
There's a club in downtown called the Reserve. It's basically all hip hop all the time, West Coast hip hop. And so you can literally go and like find whatever crowd you want to find in LA, which is really cool.
Right.
I think it's also kind of sad because it splits a lot of people into like these little
like
niches.
Segregated.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But I think that DJing for crowds in LA, obviously, hip hop is big, but that's not necessarily true for all of LA either.
Yeah.
You know, like I say that because obviously the people that I hang out with in LA are like all into hip hop.
Yeah.
At the workplace, I mean, I work full time, and a lot of people aren't necessarily in hip hop, even if they're from LA.
Yeah.
So it's really varied, and it just depends on kind of what you want. But I think that that's kind of what makes LA really special in terms of being a space for music, because I think, like, I would say the biggest thing about a lot of clubs in LA is that they're just chill.
Yeah.
It's that laid back California vibe of like, this is like, we're listening to YG, right? Like Twist My Fingers, right?
Hey.
Like that feeling of like, I feel like that those songs to me like capture the spirit of LA. It's like those songs that you're just like driving down PCH.
Yeah, just cruising down. Palm trees, sunset.
Yep, and it's like that West Coast bass line from like a lot of the old like
the Moog synthesizers.
Yeah, the Moog synthesizers.
The wine.
Yep. You got all those sounds, and that's what LA is to me, at least. That might not be what LA is to other people, right?
Right.
For other people, LA is the glitz, the glamour, Beverly Hills, and then EDM blasting in the background. So because of that, I think there's like a lot of different perspectives that you can see. But I think that, I mean, us growing up as minorities, I think obviously like there's a bigger shift towards the chill, laid back hip hop.
Right. I mean, because me, like growing up right in the San Fernando Valley, like a lot of my friends were predominantly Latino, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, they had their share of, like, I have friends that listen to corridos and bachata and, like, you know, Latin rap or Latin trap, like, just as of now, right? And all these tastes coming together, influencing me in high school. But then I have my older siblings. For people that don't know, based on the colors, I'm Filipino-American.
Yeah.
And my parents, I don't know if it's true for, I don't know, you have a lot of Filipino friends, if it's true, but they, you know, when you're doing karaoke, right, you have...
magic sing? You never scored 100?
No, 98 maybe.
98? Alright.
I forgot which song. It was probably a Gorillaz song. They have like Gorillaz on there, I don't know. Yeah, I think it was Clint Eastwood, that song, Clint Eastwood. I have it.
That's a good song, bro.
That's like my karaoke song. Actually, no, Africa by Toto is my karaoke.
Dancing Queen. That's the unofficial Filipino national anthem at all the parties I've ever been to, bro.
That's my cousin, Matt. If you're watching this, you know growing up, ABBA, Dancing Queen was
that's the song, bro.
That and like all these Britney Spears songs. Anyways, but yeah, I have like my parents, you know, they sing like OPM, original Pinoy music, right? But they also are into a lot of like 70s, 80s music.
Yeah.
Like I got my influence of that music from them. Like 70s, 80s funk, disco, R&B, soul, right? And then I have my two older siblings who are, my older sister, older brother, who are at least 10 years older than me. they have like all the '90s G-funk and like R&B, New Jack Swing, and early 2000s rap like Nelly and like 50 Cent, like all these people, Nas and Eminem and all these influences, and then all my friends having those similar tastes, and then when I got to USC, I was like, oh, okay, I'm more exposed now to like a more rock crowd or a more EDM crowd.
Yeah.
Like I only like in my high school at least in Birmingham, I didn't meet too many people that were like that into like rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were mostly into either pop, Latin music, or hip hop. You know, so like. How is it, you said you traveled in a lot of places. What is the music scene in other places? Because the only place I've been to, like, aside from the US, is Philippines and Malaysia. And I wasn't in Malaysia too long, so I don't really know the music scene there. But in Philippines, like, they copy, like, US all the time. We're like, in terms of music taste, you know, they like usually how the trends are in the US, you know, they're gonna like the same. Ed Sheeran, Bruno Mars, right? Like, all these people. They're gonna like them. So how is the music scene in other countries that you've been in? You know.
Yeah. So it's crazy because I actually haven't really traveled that much until 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The first time I ever left North America in my memory was in 2016 when I went to Tokyo. Music scene in Tokyo is interesting because obviously I think a lot of American music in general just transcends the globe. Like. Some of the biggest artists in the world a lot of them are American because just America has such a huge cultural influence on just the rest of the world, so that you'll see a lot of people in a lot of other countries listening to like obviously it's like the top of the pop charts. You're not going to be necessarily hearing like I don't know Travis Scott over in Japan or in France. But I think in Japan, a lot of it's like the pop scene of the U.S. Maybe delayed by like 5 years. So when I was there, it was like I think like the Usher from when I was in high school was kind of popular. They're like and it's like I think that's true for a lot of Asia. I think the Asian hip hop scene right now is getting kind of big with guys like Keith Ape. And so the sound that a lot of hip hop artists have right now in like Korea is very like reminiscent to me of like the DJ Mustard era.
Oh hell yeah!
So we're hearing a lot of the beats that are like heavy, like 100 BPM, heavy synths, like club oriented, up tempo hip hop. You got with the snaps and the hey, right on the offbeats. And so that's the sound right now. Maybe in 5 years we're gonna start hearing like Japanese and Korean trap artists, right?
Man, hip hop and trap in Korea is like big right now.
Yeah, it's huge. But so we got that, and then I've been to Europe. So I just got back from Europe like 2 weeks ago, and I think. Obviously, the UK has a very, very, very similar music taste to the US. I would say the scene for electronic music is a little bit different. They have a lot of like heavy piano-based EDM songs. They have this thing called a garage house, or over there they call it garage house.
Garage house. Garage house. Is that more like a rougher alternative?
It's a little rougher. It's less fratty, I would say. It's less chain smokers and more refined. More refined.
Okay.
But that's that, and then obviously like there's so many big British artists now, like Ed Sheeran, Sam Smith, Adele. Like they're all huge.
Okay.
But then when you go, it's interesting because then when you go to countries that don't speak English, like if you go to France, you go to I was in Spain. Spain, a lot of the music taste there, like, you look at the Spain top 50, there might be maybe 3 or 4 American artists, or, like, and usually they're huge artists, like Bruno Mars, or, or Drake, right, like, and if it's Drake, it's, like, not, like, the songs featuring Drake, like, like, it's, like, the huge, like, God's Plan, right, so... And you go on those charts, and it's like totally different music scene. It's kind of disorienting because it's like you think as an American, right? You go to these countries and you expect like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna know, like I know music. It's kind of the mental privilege of being an American. Like you know what culture is. But then you go to countries and it's like you don't have any perspective on like any of these songs. Like I look at the Spain top 50, I look at the Mexico top 50. I maybe know like 5-6 songs just by looking at the title.
Right.
And so that's the mentality I feel like a lot of people have to have with like music going to other countries. It's like you gotta know that you're not gonna know everything, and you got to learn all of this
Right.
from like just listening to it and like being with people. Honestly, in like bars, clubs, like going to places around in different countries is the best way to see what songs move people. Because then if you're just a bystander, you're just watching, right? And you don't know what, maybe you think this song is great, but everyone else in that country thinks it's like kind of whack.
What's a good example of that? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I don't know a good example of that.
Let's say maybe Taylor Swift. I don't know, because that's
I don't know. Maybe sure. or like I don't know. I think in the U.S. right now, there's that song, "Look Alive," right? Block Boy, Drake.
Drake, yeah.
That song is like number 3 on the Spotify U.S. charts. That song is not really anywhere else in the world right now. Maybe in the U.K.
Yeah.
But like songs that we think like bang in the U.S.
Yeah.
I think XXXTentacion. I hate the dude, but there's some people who actually like his music.
Yeah.
Some people think that he's great in the U.S., but other countries you go to, like it's not really on there. It works both ways, I think, in that.
Okay, I'm curious. What is like a music genre that you got into recently that you kind of had criticisms about before? Because I have my take on that. If you want me to start.
Yeah, no, you can start with that.
Okay, it's gonna be trap music. Like
trap music, yeah.
I used to hate on trap music.
Yeah.
I remember hating on the triplets, hating on how there's too much bass.
All the hi-hats?
All the hi-hats is too fast for me. I'm used to that old school 90s like head bobbing boom bap stuff. I'm like, what is all this da-da-da-da-da-da?
You know the thing about trap also is that it's really hard to DJ on a dance floor because it's so fast that
it is.
It's like too fast for people to dance to other than just like going like, vibing. So I never know what to do with it.
Yeah, it's like you have to either start or end with it, right? Like it's that crazy. But yeah, with trap music, it's like I always hated on it, like auto-tune, right? I like T-Pain just a little bit, right? But like hearing rappers on auto-tune, I was like, what is this? You know, Lil Wayne. I used to hate on Lil Wayne. Right. Now like Lil Wayne's one of my favorites. Like trap is like mostly what I listen to now, and it's because of my one friend back home. And he's like into trap, into Future, Migos, Travis Scott. He's a big Travis Scott fan. And when I heard Travis Scott, I was like, holy crap, like, I'm in love with trap. Like, just as a producer, right, like, like, whoever engineers trap music, okay, people could have their certain opinions, and it's true, like, for XXXTentacion, like, just way
don't
too
master everything.
It's just all
your compressor all the way up.
A hella distorted, and it's like, it sounds like this, like, it's like that distorted, but, like hearing Travis Scott on autotune, I was like, this is like way better than T-Pain. Like this is like the best guy I heard on autotune, and like seeing Kanye's take on it, and like eventually liking Migos. Like when I didn't like Migos like on their previous mixtapes, but when Culture dropped, I was like, holy crap,
bro! They're the ones I feel like who really put trap on the international stage. They put that out there.
They made the South like popping again.
Yeah, they're hella problematic as a group. I like am not a huge fan of like what they stand for, bro. Like, dude. But I think that they're the ones. I'd say actually like honestly, for me it's probably about the same. I think trap for me is also another thing that I'm not a huge fan of DJing it because also it's not very conducive to dancing. Yeah. It's also like. I don't understand half the things they're saying. If they are talking about it, it's probably about codeine, right?
Yeah, it's about codeine or cocaine or something.
Yeah, right? And so that's kind of where I'm at with that, I think. But I think that, I don't know, it's kind of become so mainstream at this point that everyone is just trying to copy that Metro Boomin sound. Like, everyone is trying to make that triplet flow their flow. So I'm wondering kind of where it goes next after that. Migos doesn't look like they're going to go anywhere.
Honestly, Culture 2, I did not like it. I thought it was horrible. No. Like, I only like, Stir Fry was cool. It was like a different type of vibe. Made Man, like, that's probably like my only...
It's like, they made literally a song, Walk It Talk It.
Walk It, like,
they literally made that a song. And like, dude... I get that you have a great producer behind that, man, but like, come on,
try a little bit on these lyrics,
dude. Like we've regressed from like the era of like Tupac and Biggie talking about social problems, and we've gone all the way down to the bottom of the barrel
to walk it like
I talk it. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Would you call it before? What's it called? Dumpster fire? What'd you call it?
I call it a dumpster fire because it's trash, but it's fire, dude. That's literally how I feel about trap.
Yeah.
It's trash, but it's on fire, and it's like it just brings that heat, dude.
It's like short spurts. Like people are gonna like this for 5 minutes, 5 weeks, whatever, and it's gonna be done. Like
I think if I was forced to listen to Culture or Culture 2 for like an extended period of time, I might go crazy.
Dude, yeah, I would kill myself.
It's not a great like listening experience. Also, I don't know. I just think it's also interesting because like Migos is also on that like, and just hip hop in general is on that Asian vibe.
Oh
my
god.
It's like super interesting to me to see all that.
Yo, I wanted to bring that up. Like, obviously, with Kung Fu Kenny. I mean, it even go way back to Wu-Tang Clan, right?
Oh yeah, all the way.
Like, Asian culture has a lot of influence, especially like Asian movies, like Asian soundtracks. Huge influence in hip-hop. What is your opinion or take on that? In terms of like, hey man, that's like appropriating, or is it? Oh, they're kind of putting us on the map in a way. I don't know. What do you think?
It's complicated, man. Because I think that like there's a lot of people who will say that it's appropriation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who also say, oh, like we don't even have any representation, so we got to get whatever we can get, right? If it means that it's gonna be Migos shooting their music video for Stir Fry in Hong Kong, right, and doing a 4-minute extended action like 70s style kung fu movie at the end.
Oh, they did that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, then that's what we get, right? But I think it's interesting because I think that if Asian people ever try to do kind of the things to black culture, what black people are doing to Asian people, there would be like people would be dragged out in the street, man.
Hell yeah!
And I think that's the interesting piece of it, and it's also like the Asian culture that they're showcasing isn't even like Asian culture necessarily. It's like what white people thought Asian culture was in like the 70s.
Hell yeah!
Like the Bruce Lee movies.
It's just
like,
all kung fu.
Yeah, the kung fu, right? Where like if I went to the Damn tour, right, for Kendrick, and that tour was literally just him. Feature basically in like a 70s, 80s era kung fu movie.
In between sets of
songs. Yeah. He's wearing a chi pao, right? He's going all in. He's got a dude with a nunchuck in the background, like while he's performing XXX.
That's
and
so
like
funny.
So and then he's also got music videos where he's like, I think this is I'm not gonna drag this one. This is a super high picture, but there's a photo of him outside a Chinese takeout with a Kobe jersey and a hoodie.
I saw that one,
dude. That's like the hypest thing I've ever seen. Like, so see, like even I have conflict over like what I think it is, because honestly, like I see that I'm like, that's so hype. I love this.
Yeah.
That there's this like sharing of cultures, right?
Yeah.
What I don't like is like I hear Migos, right, and Get Right With Ya. I don't know if you know the line, right?
What did it say?
There's a line. Quavo literally goes, "Go into Thailand with them chinks," right?
Oh, I heard that. I heard that.
And so that's just in case you didn't hear it, maybe you thought he said chains. Offset comes in with the ad lib and just yells chinks, chinks. Just in case you didn't hear it, right? And I was like,
chinks.
Yeah, and it's like that's not even a homie word with Asian people, right? Like that word hasn't even. It's not like been reappropriated. That's still technically an offensive word. It maybe. Like, in the grand scheme of, like, how people use that word and how people think of that word, I mean, as Asian Americans, if I hear that word, I'm not going to be as, like, I feel, like, viscerally negative about it as maybe, like, a black person with the N-word.
Right.
But I think that also, like, who gave you that card, bro?
Yeah, it's
like,
just, like, disappointing,
And also, like, how did nobody, like, say anything about that? That song's been out for, like, 2 years now.
Man.
So that's the part that I have. Ultimately, I don't really know how I feel about it still, to be honest, because I think that as an Asian American who's really into hip hop, I think it's cool that there's elements of what my culture, if you want to call it my culture, is in hip hop mainstream right now. But I also think that it'd be really cool to see, I mean, Asian artists that are able to like use elements of hip hop and like be in the mainstream in the same way. I think, well, he's not Rich Chick anymore. Rich Brian, is kind of doing that. He's had some collabs with 21 Savage, Offset, right? But I don't think he's as mainstream as like Amigos.
Right.
So I'm wondering just what that looks like in the future.
Yeah, I think like part of the reason why I didn't even know they said chinks in that one, and now they brought it up, I did hear something about that, and I think it's a couple reasons why they're able to get away with that. One, it's like Migos, you know what I mean?
It's
like,
Migos.
They have that clout, they have that leverage. Who's gonna be like, yo, Quavo? Nah. Like,
Yeah.
and it's also, the second reason is like the representation. Like, who's our Asian representative in the music industry that has that clout to tell Quavo to change that line? It's
Right.
like, nobody at this point, right?
Right.
Like, Quavo would have to look up to whoever that figure is.
Right.
Like, oh, you're right, that is bad.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just change it to,
And it's also like Migos isn't known for like being the most woke rap group.
yeah, no,
Like, you know what I mean?
they're like opposite of PC, which
Right.
is like, has its
And they're not
two
gonna
sides,
be they're not gonna like they have lines in like T-shirt, right? Like they're like
What is
Taliban
that T-shirt?
No, actually not T-shirt. It's in Get Right With Ya also. That song is just
That's a racist song.
Yeah, bro. That song he goes Taliban my drugs, rap 'em please, as in like turban. So like there's a lot of
that.
yeah, bro. There's a lot, and then also they're like hella homophobic in some of their songs.
Oh,
like,
yep.
They got all this stuff, man.
Like, aside from misogyny, all
aside
of
from
the
misogyny, yeah, that's every song they have.
Dude.
But like the fact that they're as big as they are is like crazy, and I think it speaks to kind of the culture. I'm not from Atlanta, so I can't speak to like what the culture of Atlanta and Atlanta music is like. But I think it's crazy that a lot of these trap artists coming out of the South, basically, and mostly Atlanta, are like making millions of dollars off of like what essentially is a dumpster fire.
Yeah, dude, there's this line, another example is Gucci Mane. Gucci, he said it in, what song was that? Good Drink? Do you know that song? With 2 Chainz? Good Drink, Big Knots, it's with Quavo. He goes like, yeah, and then he goes, he says something about Persia, and he's like, Persia, I got hosts from Iraq, and I was like,
the wrong country.
Wrong country. It's Iran.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He said like some other line, and I'm just like, the whole switching of countries thing, I feel like, at least when people refer to Asian culture or try to add an Asian bar to hip hop, or any music or movies, whatever, it's like, you know, it's all China, or it's all...
Yeah, well, what they think is China, right? They'll throw like, I don't know, they'll merge basically all the East Asian countries together into one.
Yeah,
so that's kind of what it is.
Yeah. So I'm just like surprised how that's what's hard. It's like the double-edged sword. Like, man, this is wrong. But I love these guys. Like, these guys are hype. I love their music.
Yeah, no.
It's like, how can I hate on them? Like, it's like where's the boundary? Like, where do you stop listening to them? Right? I remember how you saying, who do you not like?
I don't listen to XXX.
Oh, you don't
listen to XXX.
Yeah.
Tentacion.
That guy's like demonic or something, right?
After that, bros, dude. After that guy did his what's that? Freshman Double XL.
That was weird as hell.
After he did his freshman Double XL software, he talked about the apocalypse. Talks about being the son of a serpent. I was like, what the
hell?
That guy is not. Yeah, that guy's not in my playlist. Also, I don't agree with just who he is as a person. Like, the reason he got famous in the first place was because he was arrested.
I didn't know that.
And the fact that he was arrested for domestic violence.
Oh,
and, a lot of his songs talk about like really, really violent stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna listen to this.
Yeah.
But I think that's the hard thing is like, there's artists. I think the problem that our generation has is that we don't know how to deal with the reality that people can have good stuff and bad stuff about them. I think our generation likes to paint everything as like all good or all bad and just write something off.
Yep.
And so I think that's the challenging part because Migos is very popular, right?
Yeah.
They're a big part of what hip hop culture is today.
Yeah.
They have a lot of really problematic stuff about who they are.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change the fact that like they're a big part of the culture. And so how do you reconcile that? It's different for everyone. For me, I think it's that I will actively say like, oh yeah, I'm not a fan of this, but it's like I only have so much power, right, as a listener to like be like, okay, like I'm not gonna be a fan of what they're saying in the song.
Right.
So
dang, so how do you think that goes for like I did a podcast with my friends from back home. We talked about PC culture and how, especially with hip hop, it's tricky. Like, I recently got into Kodak Black, which is also somebody I used to hate on, and I'm like, I kind of dig this guy. Like, he's kind of funny.
Bro, there were Filipino kids in my city that would have the Kodak Black hair.
No,
Yeah,
stop it, guys. Filipino people. Why? What's it?
Yeah.
What's her name from The Simpsons? The sister with the pointy hair.
Simpsons.
Was it? Lisa. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Or that one Pokemon. Is it Psyduck or there's a meme.
I don't
It's
remember.
the pointy like I don't even know. No, I don't want to see my Filipino brothers with that haircut. Hell no. But yeah, Kodak Black, like his lines were very like not PC, you know, misogynistic.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, from a sonic aspect, oh, you know, it sounds cool. It's like, damn. I think it's like a line to cross. Like, how do you go about like explaining to people, right? Because like you obviously like with XXX, like oh, you're not gonna listen to him because it's just too far against what your values are. It's like,
Yeah.
You know, I'm turned off into his music because of that. Yeah, like how do you deal with that with other people? Like right, like if you like, what's your like main music taste right now? And is it gonna? Do you think it offends certain people? And when you have those interactions, when they get to know you more, how do you explain it to them? Like, yo.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I honestly, being a hip hop fan for like the majority of my life, I had that, and as a Christian too, it's like really, it's like a lot of conflict with that.
Very
right?
conflicting, yeah.
I don't think I really understood what it looked like to actually have good music, and to, like that was like uplifting until Chance came out with Coloring Book.
Thank God Chance put out Coloring Book.
I think that was the first time I actually saw like, oh, you can actually make a great album and not have it be like super misogynistic or homophobic or just in general just terrible, like right?
Yeah.
Like that is what I feel like the future, and the fact that Chance's album did so well is the fact that I think it means something for the future of music, because I think that people are wanting to see more of that uplifting like social commentary type of music, right? It's been around forever, right?
Yeah.
Like, Tupac was making songs about social commentary since the 90s, right?
Yeah.
But I think right now in the mainstream, a lot of what is really mainstream is it's like the trap, right?
Right.
And it's like going from that, I think right now a lot of the stuff I'm listening to is like I'm listening to Chance, I'm listening to Kendrick, Joey Badass is great.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys have a lot of social commentary woven into their lyrics, right? There is like obviously still pieces of misogyny in these songs.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not okay with misogyny.
Right.
But I think it's also like the bigger picture of what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's the hard thing to reconcile. And I think obviously, I'm not a woman, so I can't necessarily speak on misogyny in the same way that someone else who is a woman can.
Yeah.
And they might have a totally different perspective, and obviously I'm blinded to that.
Right.
Because I'm not. Yeah. But that's at least what I feel like is what it looks like to be a fan of like the rap genre, I guess, or hip hop genre right now. I think as more artists kind of explore, especially I think in the hip hop scene, kind of like the spiritual or like gospel type sound that Chance has kind of
Ultralight Beam.
Ultralight Beam. Like they've kind of pushed towards like merging. I think the parts of Black culture that like were kind of kept separate before, like the church and hip hop were kind of kept separate.
Oh yeah.
Now we're kind of seeing a merging of those two, I think. Right now.
Yeah, for you it was Chance. For me it was Good Kid, Mad City. And it's crazy because when that came out in 2012, I think I was a freshman in high school.
I was a freshman in college.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Way back. That when my friend showed me a few songs, I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I didn't know who Kendrick was. I think my first exposure to Kendrick was what's that song? Smoking weed. Recipe. Yeah. When I wake up. Yeah. I was like, okay, Dr. Dre kind of sounds weird, but it's cool. Who's this Kendrick guy? Eon to Peon to Peon. I'm like, this is a guy trying to rap fast. He kind of sounds like a black version of Eminem. I'm like, and then it took me 3 years, freshman year of college. In my hip-hop class, one of our assignments was do an album review, and one of the choices was Good Kid, Mad City. And that was the first time I sat down, Spotify, Rap Genius, and fully listened and looked at the lyrics. And I was like, holy crap, I get it now. This talks a lot about like faith and Christianity and the problems he endured growing up, peer pressure. I was like, wow, this is so relatable. Yeah. And I was like, damn. And like those little skits, like with his mom or grandma praying, or
his friends in the background.
Yeah, his friends doing, what was it?
His friends prayer. I just remember the one that was like, I'm gonna tell you where I'm from. You can tell me where you're from. That's one of the skits in between. I think after peer pressure.
But it's so crazy seeing that like intersection of faith as a theme to go in the concept. and also at the same time be representative of like Kendrick's story and yeah, like I feel like that is where like okay, at least we're progressing in that way.
Yeah.
And now I feel like okay, like with trap music, at least with the content, it's not the most like progressive or for lack of a better word, or
I wouldn't even call it not even trying to be progressive. It's pretty back.
It's regressive.
We've regressed quite a bit in from trap music. I think in the last couple of years.
And I remember talking to you a while back how you said if in terms of like Christian rap, right? Christian rap, if they actually collab with like the Metro Boomers and the Murder Beats and like
well they got. Like
they have some, right?
Yeah. So Lecrae, obviously, I think Lecrae's the biggest.
Is it Mike Will? Yeah.
Mike Will produced one of his songs. Ty Dolla $ign's on one of his songs. E40's on one of his songs. Like he's got. I think he was the first guy that really realized that like he could make good music, and like
with people that
and still talk about Jesus. And that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I think that because I think that if you listen to Lecrae song. You wouldn't even know that it's a Christian rap song until you like really thought about it or listened to the lyrics.
Yeah.
That's ultimately the goal, right? Because like no one's gonna listen to like if you listen to I don't know Christian rap from like the 2000s, bro.
Boo. That's
some you got trash beats, trash production, like people who couldn't rap.
It was like pseudo hype. It was like trying to be hype.
It was like trying to be hype and like trying to talk about Jesus, right? But I think that like none of the good rap ever talks directly about the subject it's on. It always talks about it in metaphors, talks about it in like a poetic sense, right?
Yeah.
That's the same thing that Lecrae's kind of doing with like his faith. Is like a lot of this. He has a song called I think the first song that I really listened to him by that I was like, oh, this is dope. Is like All I Need Is You.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a dope song.
That's a dope song. I don't think he ever actually mentions what that you is.
It's about a girl, right? Or is it about Jesus?
No, it's about Jesus. Bro.
Oh, it is about Jesus.
Yeah, it's about Jesus.
Oh.